tonight's listening and learning is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to give 3 updates. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about our current success measures. I'm going to have a highlight video of our drone aviation program at the high school. And then I'm going to talk about our new strategic plan, because this one is ending. So my first year in 18-19, we went through this process. We got a 5-year strategic plan in. And really that conversation centered around what do we want the student experience to look like. You and I had a certain student experience, right? Probably very similar. What does it need to look like for Gen Z and Gen Alpha? And so we're going to talk a little bit about the process in which we're going to go through for our next strategic plan. Then I'm going to give you a quick update. I mentioned this if you were a part of a listening and learning last year, the Success Student Ready Network. I'm going to give you an update on that. We received our waiver back in August with 20 other school districts in the state of Missouri to redesign our state assessment and our accountability system. So we have a 3-year window to do that. And then the last is we are going to be coming out in April with a new prop. So another Prop R. Basically, I'm going to talk about those projects. So with that, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to do it as quick as I can. And if you have any questions, and I'm going to kind of stand here, sorry, because we're recording this. So this is the one we're going to record to be able to have access for people that can't attend these. So with that, let's jump in. Our strategic plan started in 2019. So in the fall of 2019, we started this 5-year strategic plan. This is year 5 of that. These were the success measures. So part of this next strategic plan, we will also ask our community to rank success measures. They're going to look a little different than this list, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But the ones that are we've kind of combined in one of these, like the 4 C's, it's because of the work that happened in one of our board advisory committees. We've kind of morphed those 4 C's a little bit and have expanded that. So we're going to do that. So back in 2018, we asked our community, these right here, these 12, rank them from 1 to 12. You had to pick one. So our top 5 success measures, when you looked at it, which I think they're very appropriate of our work, the number one clear thing when we asked our community, and just put that in some context, how many people responded to that? There was about 800 people. So it wasn't like 50 people came up with this list. It was 800 people. That's a good sample size of alumni, community business folks, parents, kids, everybody. It was a good sample size. So high quality teachers, then taking care of our kids, making sure, if they don't feel safe, they don't feel healthy, they don't feel like coming to school, we can never reach their academics. So how do we create those environments? The same thing for our staff. If we don't take care of our staff, they won't take care of these kids that are the most important thing walking through our door, and they'll never reach their potential. So how do we do that? Making sure we do that. Those 4 C's, critical thinking, creativity, communication, and collaboration, those are life skills that kids need to be successful in life. So how do we embed those into our lessons? And then personalized learning, you and I did not have that. We were a one-size-fits-all. You do it this way, and everybody's going to do it this way. So how do we continue to evolve that personalized learning over these next 5 years in that strategic plan? And that's going to be, I'll talk a little more about that. And then student satisfaction, making sure our kids feel like they're getting a good education, that they're happy, they like coming to school, making sure that we have them engaged and connected into our school. So those were clearly the top 5, Beth. It was a really clear, these 5 showed up the most. So that's that strategic plan. Now this strategic plan, we're going to ask you to rank these. And so the board, how many of are on the Student Life Board Advisory Committee? This expansion happened out of the work of that. So basically these are skills that we need to try to focus on with our kids, that committee said, hey, these are important life skills. How can we embed that into the work that we do? Student growth on achievement, not just did I do it or did I not? Are we showing this continual growth as kids go through our system? Employee well-being and satisfaction. And then we talked about this one. It was on there, the college and career readiness, making sure kids are ready to go to college or to a career, whatever that is. We've kind of branded that as Diploma Plus. You're hearing more about that than before. And the reason you're hearing more about it now than you maybe would have 2 years ago, there was this thing called the pandemic that put a little bit of our work on hold. We were kind of in that survival mode, but we had really amped up for that fall of 20. We were really going to start branding that and rolling that out. And the idea is we don't want our kids just to graduate with a high school diploma. We want them to have a plus. We want them to have multiple pluses. A plus could be they have 12 hours of college credit. They have an industry recognized certification. They did some kind of micro badging. They have X number of hours of community service. So building a portfolio for them as they go through our high school and through that to give them an advantage over other kids that they may be competing against. So this Diploma Plus program, and how do we continue to develop that? And I'm super excited to show you in this bond basically one of those Diploma Pluses that we have an idea for. So we'll ask you to rank those in order. You'll have to, I think there's 13 on here. You'll do 1 to 13 again. And then this is why we really need a strategic plan. So you think, okay, so we have this strategic plan. Why do we need these? This is your kids right here, our students, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and I always highlight this. This is the thing that always strikes me is 18 different jobs, 6 careers, 15 different homes. And what it is, when you look at that and you think about that, it's a skill set. So yes, right now we need to teach our kids certain content, but is that content always going to be relevant to them? It's really about those skills and what can they do with that information. So this is them. This is kind of why we need a strategic plan. And it's to make the student experience move from this that you and I had to more of this. What we had was the teacher was in the center, right? We want to put the learner in the center. And then we want to support them. We want to personalize that with them. But when you think about your experiences probably looked a lot like that, right? You were sitting and listening a lot, right? And you think about some of those opportunities you had in school when we got to be active in our learning. Those were probably some of the more memorable things that stuck with you, right? Some of us probably did really well in Algebra 1 class, but some of us probably can't do Algebra 1 now, right? We needed that, and there's a certain base level of skills that you need, but what is that? And so we're excited, and I'm not going to jump ahead to Success Ready. That's why we're excited to be a part of that group, helping to say, hey, here's what they need. Now they've got it. Let's now personalize that and get those interests in there. So we want to move from that to that. So basically putting the learner in the center of their experience. Are we there? Absolutely not, because if you walk around, there's still this, but we're moving more and more this way. And so this is kind of the timeline for the strategic plan. We've already done a workshop with the cabinet and the Board of Education back in August. They're going to be here next week. We're going to have large community events where we're going to invite the community to come in. Nobody that works in the school district from our staff or anybody's going to be in the room, because we want them to be people to be open and honest with our consultants about what it is they want from our school district. So basically, they will have that done. We'll have, how many, Beth? Are we doing 2 or 3? 4. We're doing 4 community engagement nights for people to give us the input on where we need to be 5 years. So basically, what we want to do with this strategic plan is, this is where we want to be 5 years. So what do we got to do in year 1, 2, 3, 4 to get us to year 5? And so that'll be part of that. So the board will actually be presented a draft in February. After that board meeting, we will give 2 more weeks for public comment. We'll send it out, say, hey, community, here's our draft strategic plan. Board's going to officially adopt this in March, because this is the work of this board in Missouri. Unlike where I was before, we have a board election every year. It's either 2 seats or 3 seats. This year it's 2. It was 3 last year. So this is the work of this board. So we want this board to vote on that. We do it, if we have new board members in April, they would be voting on something that they weren't really a part of. And so that's kind of the timeline there. We will have a steering committee. I think some of you in this room may be on that steering committee. And basically the purpose of that, it's about 15 to 18 people, and it's, you know, we have a pastor on there, we have a legacy person that's been in the community forever, we have parents, we have students, we have just a large representation of our community on the steering committee. And the steering committee then will work with the consultant. They will synthesize that information and say, this is what I heard, this is what I think. That group then kind of says, okay, this is what we're hearing. So then start planning of how do we get, here's where we want to be, how do we get to that at the end? So that's kind of the purpose of the steering committee, is to synthesize and go through that information. So that's the strategic plan. Again, it'll happen in March. It's a little different. We didn't, in the first time we did 5 years ago when we did the strategic plan, we didn't do the large community events because you guys were, as a community, were trying to hire a superintendent, and they had done a lot of soliciting, you know, what do you want to see in your next superintendent, what are the characteristics, all of those things. So we didn't do that then. This is new, this large community events where we invite people to come and engage with our consultants. So EGL, it's retired superintendents from the state of Missouri, been around a long time. A couple superintendents of the year are in this group, in this organization. So they do a really nice job of getting practical information and making it real and making it, because we've always talked about our strategic plan being a living document. You can go right now on our website and look at our compass plan and you can see what our goals are to be achieving our strategic plan for this year. The Success Ready Students Network. So in August, there was 20 districts that were approved by the State Board of Education to basically have 3 years to redesign our state assessment and our accountability system. And so we're super excited to have a voice in that. It's catching a lot of momentum. I just actually did an interview today with Ed Week, which is a national publication, about our work and what we're doing. And really, when I talk to them and I talk to people about this, this isn't something new for us. This started 5 years ago when I came into the district, and we asked you to tell us the success measures. What are things that we should be working on, and how should we be thinking about the student experience? And so we've been on this journey, and it's, we're super excited about this. We feel like, we have a blueprint and are going in a direction that can set the pace for the rest of the state. And so we are super, super excited about that. And when you look at the heart of this work, it's really about reimagining that assessment and making it meaningful. And we started the NWA, Tara, how many years ago did we start?
2020.
Oh yeah, we rolled it out in the pandemic. I forgot. I try to block some of that out of my mind. But anyway, so really it's about growth. It's about where is a kid now and where they are. And we want to give teachers, students, and parents timely information about how their kid is learning. And if you have an elementary kid, we do NWA reading up through 9th grade, getting that information in real time to help your kid be successful while they're there with that teacher. Our state assessment now, and I'll give you this analogy. I'm a sports analogy. I'm a sports guy, so I'm going to use a sports analogy. Last year, if you watched the Super Bowl, you saw Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. He had a tablet in his hand. He was watching game film during that game, getting information to help him win that game right then, to help him win that. Lynn Dawson won Super Bowl IV back whenever that was, and he got his game film about 4 days later, right? So when you think about our current assessment system from the state, our current assessment system is Lynn Dawson, right? Because we take it in the spring, and when do we get it? When do you get your kids' results back? October, November? Nothing we can really do with that information to help your kid right then and there, right? So having an assessment that gives us that information, so the NWA type of assessment, I'm not saying it's the all be all, there may be other things that we want to do with that, and we have 3 years to figure that out with 20 other like-minded school districts, but that's giving them information during that year to help that kid be successful. Because when you think about it, if I'm a kid, I take an assessment in September, okay, I'm not doing so well on these 3 things. You can sit with that teacher, bring that parent into that conversation or that guardian in that conversation. What's our plan to get here in December? Then what's our plan from December to May? Are we doing that perfectly across our district yet? No, but we're getting there. I mean, I know they're doing some really good stuff. We have a video for kids talking about their NWA from Sparing Middle School. So again, it's a journey, but this is the vision and this is where we want to go with that. And so this is the work of these 20 districts. Locally, it's Parkway's in there with us. Ladue is in the second group. Kirkwood is in the cohort 2 group. Melville is in it with us. So Kansas City side, Lee Summit, which is a very large school district's in it. Liberty's in it as well, which is on the north side of Kansas City. It's a suburb on the north Kansas City side. And then down around Springfield, there's Ozark. I believe Nixa is as well. I think Springfield Public is in the second cohort behind us, that they will be doing kind of what we did last year, developing their waiver and then submitting to the state for their approval. And when you think about it, I've already talked about this, I won't spend a lot of time here, but we want this to be meaningful to our kids, give our teachers action, we want it to be personalized, get out of that one-size-fits-all. So when you have an assessment that says, Susie, you need to work on these 3 things, and Billy, you need to work on these 3 things, that's getting it personalized learning instead of, oh, we all are going to learn fractions this way and do it exactly the same way. So how does that look? So having an assessment and giving people that kind of information to help them be successful. And then the bond issue, 2024 in April. So it'll be called Prop R again, and I'm going to run through this. So At our high school, it's not up and running yet, but it will be. We have technology there that every door on that campus has an alarm on it, except for the main entrance, which you can't use now because we're still tearing the building down and doing all of that. So the main entrance and the back main entrance, because our students will park on the west side of the campus. So, in a lot of these horrific events that have happened in our schools, it's usually around a door being propped open or something, not being secure, or glass. So what we want to do is put that technology. So basically at the high school, when the system's fully functioning, if a kid goes out, let's say the commons doors or a door, one of the doors that's not the main entrance doors, it'll set a local alarm off and it'll immediately pop a camera up on our security officer's monitor so he can see exactly what's going on. Oh, it was a couple kids just ran out the door, or somebody popped the door open that's not supposed to be in the building, because one of the most important things you can do in a crisis situation like that is give people time to make the appropriate decision. Do I get behind the closed locked door? Do I leave the building? So we want to put that technology in all of our buildings. And what we also want to do is, yes, we have done secure vestibules and we've hardened our main entrances. They're secure, but what about those back doors? What about those side doors? What about the glass there that somebody could break out, And we've been doing that already. We've been filming and putting the safety that takes like 10 to 12 minutes, 15 minutes to get through that. We've been doing that here and there, but we just want to do this in this bond and just get all of our schools having that same safety level. Site circulation, I'm going to show you some things there. We want to get as much parent traffic off of our surface streets and onto our campus. It's a safety thing. And separate our bus traffic from our parent traffic. So that is also a safety thing. So that's part of this as well. And then we have 3 elementaries that don't have the same facility equity as the other ones. So they still have the caffeinasium or whatever you guys call that. So we're going to put a gymnasium at Crestwood, Long, and Kennerly if we're successful. And those 3 buildings, when they put the additions on those 3 buildings, they did nothing to the front of those buildings. You know that when you walk in there, you feel like you're going back in time, right? So not a extravagant facelift, but a remodel job. The bathrooms need to be remodeled. The flooring is dated. The glazed block, needs to be dealt with. You have like 75 different tile iterations in your ceiling because this iteration went away and now we buy this one. Lighting isn't great. So just kind of that, hey, it's time to refresh those front of those 3 buildings. We want to get into maintenance-free flooring across our district. The amount of money we spend on waxing and manpower every summer, and if you walk to high school, we left it because it was fairly new in the north cafeteria, which is called the new cafeteria. That's the only waxing area in that entire high school. It has maintenance-free flooring on it now. So, they can mop it, they can clean it, they can do all that. So those kinds of remodel kinds of things. And then Truman, what's there to say about Truman? We actually did a feasibility study. Do we knock it down or do we remodel it? And it was going to be too much to build it. So we think in this prop, 45-ish million, maybe a little less, a little more, can give that a nice facelift and actually get rid of the window units, get some better air quality flowing through that place, and just do some things to it that it needs to be done. If you drive by and you look at the kind of that west side of where the pool and the gym is, that roof, it's like propped up, it's coming down. So it's like the high school. It needed to be dealt with. It needs to be dealt with. And then Farmers Club, I'm going to talk about that here in a second. Sparing, Concord, and Sappington, some remodeled bathrooms, new flooring, kind of like I talked about, doing that stuff. And then HVAC, there's some things that we just need to do system-wise. We don't have some systems that function the way they should, and so we need to address those as well. So, and again, I'm just giving you a 30,000-foot view. What I always do with the prop, I'll come back out in probably February and say, here's where we landed. And so tonight you're going to have an opportunity to give us some input on this so I can take that as we continue to develop what those projects might look like. And then here's the Farmers Club. I've been so excited to talk to you guys about this. So if you're not aware, we bought the Farmers Club during the pandemic. And so we started thinking, I think some people thought, put soccer fields, parking. Well, we have an opportunity to keep the history of that property through an educational program, which will impact kids all the way down to kindergarten to 12th grade. And so what we envision is, so this is the site right now. So we were envisioning putting a new structure on this side of the property right here, but there's a sinkhole right here. Trust me, we won't make you drive through the sinkhole on there, so we'll get it to that side. And we've learned that you can't do anything with the sinkhole. You can't modify it, you can't fill it in, you can't do any of that. So we are actually going to take the building down where it is here. We were going to take the building down anyways, but just the way it was going to flow, we liked it better over here. We're going to put it kind of back here. And this program that we're going to design there is really an ag tech program. St. Louis is the ag tech capital of the world. If you're going to do anything in modern farming, you come to St. Louis. There's so much science involved with farming. And I'm going to talk a little more about that. I'm getting ahead of myself. So this will be the mission of this program. This is the same mission from 1883 on that property. And so this will be the mission of this K-12 program that will impact kids all the way through our system, learning opportunities. And basically, the kids will drive the site. They will be responsible for different things on the site, depending on what grade level you're in. As they're working on things, they'll have problems that they'll have to solve. There'll be real purpose with the property, and over time it can evolve. The property can evolve. But what we love is it's tied to our Missouri science standards and other kinds of Missouri learning standards. And so what we envision, and this is not set in stone, this is kindergartners will have a responsibility to contribute to that farm. They might go there 4 times a year, 5 times a year. They'll learn something at their home school, and then they'll actually go implement it on that site. So it'll be owned by lots of people. So here's an example, and this is tied to Missouri learning standards. 3rd graders will install research gardens to study the impact on environmental change on native plants. So there'll be some native plants there that they would be able to do. They can learn about all of that at their home school and then actually go to that property and be a part of that. Middle schoolers, I'm not going to read all that to you because I'm not sure I even understand what all that means. So, but again, every grade level will have some kind of responsibility. Our high schools, all the way up to our marketing kids, because what we envision is a farmer's, like on Saturday, there'll be a farmer's market. We'll be selling things that we have there. There'll be animals there. There'll be whatever we can envision there. But again, it's about this modern farming because South County has such a history of farming. It was an agricultural area, and how do we keep that history and make it a learning opportunity for our students? And I think our community will appreciate that we're doing a K-12 program impacting all of these kids. And Tara and I talked about this today. We don't know anyone else in the country that has a K-12 kind of farm-to-table ag tech program. So there are places that have these kind of programs, but we're not sure anyone has all the way down into kindergarten contributing to the farm in some way. The culinary classes, I could see us growing our vegetables, using them in our own cafeterias. I can see, entrepreneurial kinds of opportunity, marketing our farm. And again, I could envision us opening it up to other school districts for field trips and things like that as well. So, but this is kind of what we envision the building to be. It'll kind of look like a barn. This is Concord School Road. You've just passed Concord Elementary. You're heading towards Sparing. So that's kind of what you would see. And then this really gives you a nice vision of what the site might lay out and look like right here. So this is that road to get the traffic off, to go over to Sparing. Sinkhole's about right there. So, and then this would be kind of again, it's concepts. This is just big picture, whatever, we'll get into that. But again, very unique program. One in St. Louis, but like Tara and I talked about, we think in the country that this would be something that people might want to try to replicate. So, and it's an opportunity, again, we talk about giving our kids an advantage. This is an opportunity to really embed them early on in science. There's so many things that you can do in ag tech, so many careers, so many different opportunities that we could really start to engage our kids in at a young age. And then so what we will do is we will budget money to build just a normal sheetrock, metal, safety windows, all of that. If we can get grant money on top of that, we will build a off-the-grid building. So the building actually teaches the kids. So it'll be a net zero building. They can learn how that works, what those processes are, all the science that goes into that type of building. So that's kind of what our big vision is for that. So So every year we ask these 3 questions. We're going to ask them again tonight, but these are the results from last year. Every year, this is something that shows up that we do really well, and every year it shows up on what we can do better. So, it is what it is. Yes, we can always be better with our academics, and we can always be better at that stuff, and we can always be better at communication, but every year those are the 1 and 2 things we do really well or things that we can improve on, and we can always improve on. And so the bolded ones are kind of the ones that kind of show up pretty consistently kind of year to year. I think this one, hopefully we got it right now. So anyway, so there's that. And then things we need to stop doing is there. I'm not sure about what controversial topics that is, but, engaging with activist parents, yeah. So anyways, so that's what we need to stop doing. And then this year, you're going to have the opportunity to answer these 3 questions again for us. If you want to do the QR code and just have it on your phone, you can do it right now. But in this survey, you don't have to fill it out right now, but in this survey, you're actually going to be asked, you've seen some of the bond stuff. There's an open-ended question like, hey, what'd we miss? So it's an opportunity for you to say, hey, think about this, or you may have thought about this, but I want to make sure I bring it up. It's also a question, how likely are you to support Prop R in the spring? How likely are you to encourage other people to support? So there's just some questions for us to gather some data like, where are we, what work, what projects are you supporting, that you can get excited about. So there's a survey in there to do that. You'll answer those 3 questions for us as well. And again, you'll also rank in there. You'll have the opportunity to rank those success measures on this survey. Again, that'll help us drive the development of our next 5-year strategic plan. So if you guys will take the time and do that, we would greatly appreciate it.